All right, today on the show, we're going to talk about the first-time homebuyers incentive. As most people know, it's getting harder and harder to get into the housing market for first-time buyers or people that maybe been out of the market for a while and want to come back in. So a couple of years ago, the government launched a program called the first-time homebuyers incentive. And generally, in a nutshell, what it is the government will offer 5% down payment or 10% down payment. So if you're buying an existing property, you can apply for an additional 5% down payment. If you're building a new property, you can apply for 10% down payment. The advantage here is that, of course, it decreases the amount of mortgage that you're putting in a request for, hence decreasing your monthly payments. The trade-off now, though, is that the government now owns a stake in your home, and it's a percentage. So if you buy a $400,000 home and the government has 5% in that, when the time comes to sell, if your house is worth $500,000, then the government owns 5% of $500,000. So there is a bit of a trade-off there. And really, that's just a personal preference. It's up to you. Let's talk about some of the a bit of an overview of the first-time homebuyers incentive and who actually qualifies for it. So the people that qualify for this incentive are basically people that have never owned a home before. You haven't been on a mortgage or owned a property in 4 years or longer, or there's been a breakdown in a marriage and a separation or divorce, and you're sort of back in the housing market yourself. There are some income guidelines as well, too. The maximum qualifying income can only be $120,000. So if you and somebody else that you're applying with has an income of $160,000, $170,000, you're not going to qualify for it. $120,000 is the maximum qualifying income. On top of that, the maximum amount that you can borrow is 4 times the qualifying income. So let's say you do qualify, and the total combined income is $100,000. Well, then that $100,000 becomes $400,000. That's the maximum amount of mortgage that you can apply for through the first-time homebuyers incentive. You or the person you're applying with has to be considered a first-time homebuyer by the guidelines, and the minimum down payment requirements have to be met as well. And that means you have to have your minimum down payment from traditional sources like personal savings, an RSP withdrawal, or gifted down payment from a family member. So you have to have your own bit of down payment as well. If the government's going to put some skin in the game, they want you to have some skin in the game as well, too. And the property does have to be located in Canada, and it has to be a full-time, year-round, owner-occupied property. Can't be rentals and stuff like that. When do you have to pay the incentive back? Well, you have to pay the incentive back after 25 years. You have to pay it back if you're porting your mortgage to another property. If you are refinancing or selling your property, although you should discuss that with your specific lender because there may be some lender-to-lender guidelines that are slightly different, but generally that will trigger it, or a change in use in the property, meaning you've gone from having an owner-occupied property to a property that now becomes say a rental property, or you want to turn it into a commercial venture of some kind. That will trigger the repayment. So it's a bit of an overview of the first-time homebuyers incentive. If you have more questions on this for people that are looking to get back into the housing market or into the housing market for the first time, there's a great website the government has called placetocallhome.ca. Placetocallhome.ca. And if you stop by that website, it's very well laid out, very easy to understand. There's some calculators there that can help you find it. And of course, if you have other questions, you can always call me and I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have. So thanks for joining us on the Mortgage and Money Morning Show. Coming up on the next show, we're going to talk about 6 letters that could impact your ability to get a mortgage: GDS and TDS. What is GDS and TDS, and why should you care? That's coming up on the next episode of the Mortgage and Money Morning Show.